Oh. Well, I think I'm online. It's really confusing with the software. First of all, it didn't show anything. Now it does. I'm assuming that I'm online. And if I'm not, well, I'll just repeat it later. But if I am, well, you understand where I'm coming from. Today's reading is called Abundance in My Work. And I'm just going to read it and then come back to it. I was at a business meeting for most of the day. It was actually the Woodlands Chamber Business Summit, which happens once a year, usually in November, sometimes December, but anyway, usually in November. And I attended one of the breakout sessions, and in one of those breakout sessions, it was about being online and about Facebook, TikTok, and all the other stuff, but using it for business, which, let's face it, this is a business to all intents and purposes. One of the things it talks about was being brief and being interesting and telling stories. So that's one reason why the writings every month, when somebody uses it to tell stories, I personally think it's much more interesting than just somebody's opinions, somebody stating facts. But I'm kind of stuck with it because that's what it is. Anyway, the story today is that I was attending this breakout session and I was told, be precise, be brief, be to the point. Try and put in stories because stories sell. There's no expression, facts tell, stories sell. So here we go. First one is from Parker Palmer, and it says, it's kind of a long one. It says, before I can tell my life what I want to do with it, I must listen to my life telling me who I am. I must listen for the truths and values at the heart of my own identity, not the standards by which I must live, but the standards by which I cannot help but live if I'm living my own life. So in other words, we have to find out who and what we are before we can actually go ahead and decide what we want to do with life. You know, what are our values? You know, what really interests us? And this will come out in the reading, actually. Ernest Holmes, it's also pretty long, says, and I don't know if I agree or disagree with him here, but you come to your own conclusion. The first sentence, he says, we all come into this world with a subjective tendency toward negative conditions. I don't know if that's true or false. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychoanalyst. I'm not anywhere in that realm. But we also deal with a subjective tendency toward good. That's God, the divine, the all, if you like. Because in spite of all conditions, humankind believes more in the good than in the evil. This is the eternal hope and sense of all life. So bottom line is, whether he's right or wrong about coming in with a negative tendency, we do actually believe that evolution, life, moves towards the positive. So what about the subject here? Abundance in my work. Abundance in my work does not mean a lot of work to do. At least that's how he's defining it, Reverend Jim. He says, It means a sufficiency of both activity and income, and a connection to my identity and my meaning in life. When my vocation is also calling, this may be more easily realized. The ideal, of course, is to be doing work that is both a livelihood and has a deep meaning and opportunities for creative expression. But sometimes our livelihood and our avocation, that is our deep calling, are not the same. Then we do the work necessary to provide support for the expression of our calling. Many artists across disciplines live this way, working to enable them to create art. Or it may be that your avocation is your family, and you work to support their growth and their well-being. He says, whatever the arrangement, you must know yourself. Know yourself. I worked a number of jobs in my life, he says, and only a couple of these were my callings. And I recognize that I've been fortunate because for many, there's no option to combine livelihood and calling. We dignify all work when we approach it with a consciousness of wisdom and love. And everyone has a calling, whether or not it's the source of income. I spent a lot of years working for a couple of companies in the oil industry, Aramco, Caribbean American Oil Company, and also Shell Oil. And I would say sometimes it was my calling because I really liked a lot of what I was doing. What I didn't like was all the crud that went with it, all the bureaucracy that went with it. But I actually did like negotiating contracts, and I did like getting down and agreeing on a format of contracts and the language in the contracts. So, but afterwards, I did actually get into callings that I really did truly did both, provided me an income and also provided me with what I want to do. He says it's difficult for some people to actually be able to have both, and I would agree with him. But there are two schools of thought on this. One school of thought says that if you truly believe hard enough that what you love will eventually become your passion, then one school of thought says, yes, that will happen. Another school of thought says maybe, and another says, no, not really. So what do I believe? I believe it's done unto you as you believe. And you hear a barking dog. Sometimes the dog's job is to bark. It's to warn you of people coming. Other times, it's just to take it easy. And the affirmations, this is some of you have seen my broadcasts on a reasonably consistent basis. Know one of my big peeves is when people say affirmation and then they give us 3 lines. And my peeve is nobody is going to remember that. So I typically split them up, and I split this into 3. And the middle one is still kind of long. My work is an expression of my being. I find opportunities to support myself and others, to creatively express my talents and to be constructive. My life and work are filled with meaning. Okay, the first 2 are really kind of the same. The first one is affirming that your work is an expression of your being. And if you keep affirming that, then it will be. If you got that solid spiritual foundation, your work is going to be good and you're going to find it fulfilling no matter what it is, because you got that solid foundation. And the same thing with my life and my work are filled with meaning. When you keep affirming that, eventually it will. Don't ask me how it works, because I don't know how the subconscious mind works. The universal is subjective. But believe me, if you affirm it long enough and you truly believe it, it's going to happen. Now, back to business here. Tonight is our soul session. How do you get on the soul session? You go to Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page at 7 p.m. Central Time, and you will be able to see our soul session. And our soul session is with 2 people, as I said. It's with Reverend Olga and practitioner. He goes by, let me see, I'm doing a mental blank. I apologize. Gordy. He goes by Gordo. So it's Reverend Olga and Gordo. And Reverend Jesse Jennings will be on there, and there might be some commentary from Reverend Lisa Ryan. I will not be on the soul session itself. I'll be on the pre-session and then afterwards, but I won't be on the soul session itself. I just do the technology behind it. So please tune in, and also give us a like. I appreciate all of you who give us likes on this. I truly appreciate it. I do see it. I don't always have a chance to respond to your comments, but I do see it, and I promise in the future I'll try harder to respond to all your comments. And the same thing with our soul session. When you go on there, please give it a like. Yes, I'm early. Why am I early? Because I've been busy all day. I need a break before tonight's session. Ergo, I'm early. I am going to relax for an hour, hopefully. So until next time, namaste.